Tell us about your new role, and congratulations on the new job.
So thank you very much. So yeah, as of November of 2013, I took over as the president of Doosan Portable Power. Prior to that, spent 15 years working with Bobcat Company, so a move within the same Doosan family.
You have a long background, you have some legacy, and you bring a lot to the table, so to speak. Tell us about your stance at this particular time as far as portable power is concerned, and all of the applications that are coming in from the various emissions regulations and everything else in the field.
Sure. So I mean, Tier 4's obviously had a huge impact on our industry. You know, from a strategic standpoint, you really needed to, I think, understand what you could do to get equipment maybe depowered under a threshold where it hadn't been before. So if you had something that was 29 or 30 horsepower in the past, could you make it work with 24 horsepower, and what would be the implications of that? And so, you know, we've spent a lot of time from a strategic standpoint understanding that. But then also, you know, what was the best use of your TPM that you had out there? And manufacturers took a different perspective as far as where they thought they could get the best impact and the biggest bang for the buck with some of those things. So,
what do you see, Mike, going forward for, let's say, any changes in requirements on power sources for construction job sites?
Well, I think what, you know, I alluded to before already a little bit, is that you're going to try to squeeze all you can out of a horsepower before you knock into the next threshold. But the other piece of it, and you're seeing it at the show, and we've introduced a couple new products that aren't being powered by diesel anymore. So for example, we have a C185 air compressor that's going to be powered by a gasoline engine. We also have an electric air compressor. And so I think manufacturers are taking a look at some of those areas where they probably hadn't explored before, and maybe it didn't make sense, to see if they should probably relook at that to try to get around some of the emissions.
Do you ever see the day when this technology is going to get to the point where there won't be any really soluble fuels used? I'm thinking of strictly electric hybrids and, you know, alternative energy, maybe even hydrogen fuel cells, that sort of thing.
I think everybody's going to continually be working towards that. When I was at Bauma last year, you were seeing some products in Europe that were starting to go down that road, and I think everybody's going to constantly be looking at what the alternatives are. But from an R&D perspective, I mean, the manufacturers have spent a lot of time right now just meeting Tier 4 compliance. So I always say, you know, the engineers probably have stacks of ideas about this high on their desk that they're ready to go work on. And hopefully now we'll have some resources to look at some of those other items.
Okay, from your standpoint though, how difficult is it to take it from that engineer's workplace, actually become reality, build it onto a piece of equipment, and then sell it to the prospective customer?
And make sure the customer is willing to accept it.
Exactly.
So I say this, there's a lot more work that needs to be done in understanding, again, what implications that's going to have. How does the customer going to use it, or have the user interface with that piece of equipment? And at this point, there's probably a lot of unknowns in that area yet.
Well, as we both know, there's probably a lot of customers out there that are very, very reluctant to move forward with the new modern day technology, modern day equipment, because there's this sort of fear of acceptance, fear of gee, what happens when, or X, Y, or Z, or maybe preconceptions they have about this isn't going to work for me. I can see it's going to bring me more problem than I've got now. And that's not necessarily the case, because there's so much there that can be used to help that customer.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the engines, so to get to the emission compliance with the electronic controls, there was a lot of benefits to the customer. Now, we need to do a good job of selling them on that and getting to understand what those benefits could be, but things like fuel efficiency and just better performance, there's a lot of those elements that bring a lot of value. But again, as we're kind of in the infancy stages yet, we need to do a good job of promoting that and getting customers to understand that. So,
okay, very good. I appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you very much.
That's an important message we need to be talking about to everybody in the industry.
Absolutely.
Where are we going forward here?
Absolutely. So,
okay,
thank you very much.
Ballweber, who is the new president of Doosan Portable Power in the Americas, and thanks a lot, Mike.
Thank you.
Good to meet you, sir.